Okay. So, welcome to Holistic Connections, Conversations with Holistic Practitioners. And today I have Nicole, a real treat for you, so I can't wait to get into it. So, if you can introduce yourself, Nicole, and explain a little bit about what you do in the holistic healing world, please.
Hi, Pam. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. I'm so
Oh my
delighted to be
goodness.
here and to connect with you and your audience. Yeah,
Yeah,
so
thank
what am
you.
I? What am I? I tell people that I am an eternality advocate, meaning that I've had a near-death experience, so
Yes.
I believe that our soul lives on eternally. So I'm definitely a proponent of that messaging and trying to change the vibration and the narrative around death from
Oh
doom
gosh.
and gloom to light, love, radiance, and something that we are all going to experience in this world. I am a wellness expert. I've worked at the Centers for Disease Control. I'm a nutritionist by training, a dietitian. So I've helped people in that realm for years. I'm also a holistic stress management. I have a certification in that. I'm a neuro emotional technique practitioner. So basically, anything wellness, lifestyle medicine, preventative medicine, that has been my career. And it all was because my crash at 19 caused me so many health issues that, we tend to go into areas in our life thinking underneath we're helping ourselves, trying to find answers for ourselves. So we go in into that to help others, but really we're looking for that for ourselves. So I've been
Yeah.
in the wellness field in various capacities in all the different quadrants of health my
Yeah.
entire life. And I have a passion for it. I'm also a 100% disabled veteran. I have a
Nice.
true passion for helping veterans. And in case your audience doesn't know, it's about 30 veterans that commit suicide a day. So that means today, 30 veterans will have taken
Oh
their
my
life.
goodness. Oh my
And
goodness.
that is to me unacceptable in
Yeah.
a country that has as many resources as we do, that we are allowing that to help happen and not getting them the help that they need. So
Right.
that's another one of my passions. So I am, I've been one of these, I love to learn. So I've got
Hmm.
all the different modalities in the
Yeah. I love that.
the whole holistic or integrated practice
Yeah.
network. So I call myself right now a spiritual wellness practitioner. So
Hmm.
really focusing on that domain to help people in their healing journey and really break free from the belief systems that are holding them back and sabotaging them.
Yeah, yeah. And so we didn't mention it's on the thumbnail, but you are an author.
Oh
You
yeah,
have
that too.
had a near-death experience, and the book is so much more than just the near-death experience. It's the author is You Are Deathless is the name of the book, correct?
Yeah,
You Are
yeah.
Deathless. There it
And I
is.
want,
Awesome.
and I want you to see my credentials up there, the one
Yeah.
that's DTDT. Do you know what that means?
No.
Been there, done that.
Ah,
I want you guys to see I put it as a credential because I believe when you have an
gosh.
experience that is out of the realm of science or education,
Love that.
there is no school of near-death experience, okay? There's no field you can go into. It is your experience that makes you an expert in it. And
Yeah.
so I tell people if you have an experience that doesn't fit any credentialing, use that, okay?
Yeah.
Put it on your resume because I tell you, I'm a recovering eating disorder person as
Hmm.
well.
Yep.
And I will tell you, when I needed help, I wanted someone who had an eating disorder and had recovered
Hmm.
from it because they understood. They had been
Yeah.
there, done that. You have more compassion
Right.
when you've been there, done it. You have more empathy, you have more sympathy.
Yeah.
So that's important to me to find people that I can connect in my healing journey with that really get it and really understand.
Yeah.
So that's why I put that credential in.
That's great. I love that.
I also have another book that I wrote called Eating
Oh,
the Rainbow Without Lies, Hype, or Calculus.
oh,
And you can get
okay.
this free on Smashwords. I'll give you that
Oh,
information.
nice.
So yeah, and it's just about basic nutrition, but
Yeah.
also a little bit about how food can be a metaphor for what your emotions are trying to tell you, but you're
Yeah.
using food instead. Um,
Absolutely.
for example, if you binge or crave or eat a lot of crunchy foods. So
Mm-hmm.
popcorn, chips,
Mm-hmm.
all that kind of, that's unrepressed, that is repressed anger. Okay. You
Yeah.
have shut down anger and you are trying to push it down. And instead of eating those chips and popcorn, try to ask yourself, become aware that you're not hungry, yet you're eating this. What is
Yeah.
it or who is it I'm really angry with right
Mm.
now? Or are
Who
you
am I
angry?
chomping?
Yeah, who am I
Who am I
really
chomping at?
exactly? Or you may be angry at yourself because you have
Mm.
and you didn't uphold that boundary with that person
Yeah.
recently. So, a lot of times it's self-anger, but we can't identify it, so we're eating it away. So just,
Yeah.
like that.
Yeah, I often find, that people who have been through something, something major in their life and had a big turnaround, that those are then when they go into these different healing practices, that they end up wanting to help those who have been in their own shoes before. Those are the people that they really can connect with, like you said, and then the clients also know, like you said, that you've been there and done that. So then they know that you know what they're going through. It's not just, training or education or certification that you've been through. It's lived experience is really so much more, I think. So that's awesome. Yeah.
Yeah, and you know what? The other part of that is you will unconsciously attract the law of attraction. You will attract those
Yes.
clients as well, and
Yes.
it's interesting how that happens. It's usually a symbiotic relationship.
Yeah. Yeah. That's great. So you mentioned being in the service and having, being disabled from, from your accident. And I want to talk about the book a little bit more, even though this is a holistic, holistic connections, because I'm just so fascinated. It's when you look at the pictures and you go through the book and you hear your story, just everything that it's so much more than just the near death experiences. You've been through so much in your life and you've overcome so much in your life. And I think that your life story so far was really a huge testament towards, the human spirit, and how much we can grow and learn from the things that we've been through. And, a couple things that you said in your book that I would like you to talk about a little bit more is the, spiritual amnesia or spiritual bypassing, those types of, um, concepts. So if you could talk about that a little bit, I think,
So,
think
my,
it's
my book,
fascinating.
first of all, let me just in a nutshell say when
Yeah.
I was 19 years old, I was a passenger, and I don't know if you can see it
Oh
very
my gosh,
well.
yes.
But that is the car crash. That was a
Yeah.
1965 Corvette convertible. I was a passenger and I was a cadet out at the United States Air Force Academy. And I actually was pronounced dead at the scene from this
Yeah.
crash. I was clinically dead for 10 to 13 minutes. And the EMT that revived me later came to my hospital room and told me what happened. But I had no memory except of
Yeah.
bright white lights for 19 years. And then when I was working at the Centers for Disease Control in Atlanta one day, I went to Starbucks, got my coffee, and all of a sudden my body started remembering in detail the crash.
Wow.
And I will tell you, I freaked out and went to my chiropractor who does body
Hmm.
work. He said, Nicole, these are repressed memories.
Yeah.
And I had never heard of repressed memories. I just thought I had a blank spot in my life
Hmm.
from right before the accident to waking up in the hospital room. And it was so profound for me to remember this and for my body to release it. Because when you've undergone a trauma, okay, your body a lot of times will just shut down to protect you. And there's
Yeah.
a great book by Bessel van der Kolk called The Body Keeps the Score
Right, right. Yes.
with trauma and how your body does keep the score on
Hmm.
what happened. And as my body started to release these memories, I had to start believing and trusting myself that they were real because our
Yeah.
society will tell us that remembering something from 19 years ago, well, you can't be right about that. Or
Mm.
especially with sexual abuse, for you to remember that years, decades later,
Yeah.
people will poo-poo it. And I want to
Yeah.
let you know that that is a point in your life where your body has to feel safe to feel
Hmm.
it, and you have to be able to have the resources to get help with this. You cannot manage this by yourself. You do need help. And that's why you
Yeah.
have all these beautiful modalities of holistic practitioners that can help people
Yeah.
work through these kind of traumas. But when I talk about spiritual amnesia, that is something every single one of us is born with. Okay. We come into the world forgetting who we are. And
Yeah.
we forget that we are these beautiful souls that are perfect. There is nothing wrong with us. There is nothing to be fixed. At a soul level, you are glorious, you're radiant, you're eternal, you're perfect, you're beautiful. And we forget that. And we
Yeah.
spend our whole life then being indoctrinated with belief systems and filters that tell us, and society, look at advertising. The
Yeah.
first thing they do is tell you something's wrong with you and you need this product to fix it. So we get inundated with all of these layers throughout our life. And if we don't unwind those layers and pull them back
Yeah.
and confront them and deal with them, then we believe that, and we believe that's who we are, our essence. So we all forget this, and we have to awaken. Okay, we have that is
Yeah.
what we are here to do, is to awaken ourselves to remember who we are. And when you realize who you are, you have nothing but love for yourself. And
Yeah.
that is a long journey for a lot of us, because so many of us were raised with conditional love. And
Yeah.
the church, I was raised Baptist and Lutheran, and the church has so many conditions on love. And if you don't follow these
Mhm.
rules, you're not going to heaven and all this kind of
Oh
stuff.
my goodness. Yeah.
The Southern Baptists filled us with fear of
Yeah.
hell and the devil and the all
Ugh.
that kind of stuff. And I just want to stop and say, okay, if you think there's a hell we're going to, I want to tell you, when I was on the other side, hell does not exist. Okay, it just doesn't exist. It is a concept that is made by man to get
Hmm.
people to fear. And as long as you're in fear, they can control you. And that's what's
Hmm.
going on in our society right now. They are promoting politics, all of this stuff is promoting fear in people so that you will be divided and turn on one another.
Yeah.
And you're in fear, you're operating from your amygdala, that part of the back part of your brain that's in fight, flight, or freeze.
Hmm.
Okay. And instead, we need to be in this parasympathetic part of our brain, the prefrontal cortex, which is where you rest and digest and you
Yeah.
make decisions that are for your highest and greatest good. When you're in fear making decisions, you're back here. So you're never going
Mm.
to have clarity. Okay.
Yeah.
Got to have clarity to make decisions that are going to be for your highest and greatest good. Otherwise, you're going to sabotage yourself. So if you're living in fear and worry and making decisions from here, you're going to keep sabotaging yourself time and time
Right.
and make that same mistake again and
Yeah.
again. Got to shut down those alarm bells that are going off all the
Yeah.
time, get into this part in order to truly understand and make rational decisions, because most
Yeah.
are irrational. Okay. And spiritual bypassing is another term that we have. And people will use that a lot when they're not truly, how do I want to say this? They're using it as an excuse.
Mm.
Okay, they're using spirit, religion, God, metaphysics, all this
Any kind of spirituality. Yeah.
as an excuse not to be accountable for themselves.
Mm.
Okay. And
Yeah.
they will tell you that, you have to go through, for example, Jesus in order to get to God. Okay.
Yeah.
No, God, what I learned on the other side, God was within me. We are all
Yeah.
eternal sparks of God. We're all in the end. The main theme on the other side is one. We are all one consciousness and
Hmm.
love. And if we could get those lessons here, it would make for such a more um, fluid, accepting, loving, uh,
Yeah.
respectful journey for all of us. And
Yeah.
unfortunately, people will gaslight you with these spiritual, quote, we label them gurus, and you get
Right.
attached to what that message is, and they will gaslight you, or it's spiritual bypassing. So
Mm-hmm.
you have to be
Yeah.
aware, you have to be mindful, you have to look into to people and how they're using spirituality, and understand that ultimately it's your relationship with this higher power source, whatever you want to call it, that's
Yeah.
important. And nobody can define that except you. But I will
Yeah.
tell you, if fear is in that relationship, it is not of God or higher source or whatever. Because
Right.
here's the deal: bad and good are earth terms. They were
Yeah.
created by men on earth in order to evaluate ourselves and others. Okay. On the other side, there's no bad or good. It's all just amazing goodness. Okay. Greatness. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
there's
Because there's
no
no judgment.
that's
So,
right.
yeah.
And that's a hard one if you've been raised in the South, or if you've been raised in religion or Catholic, or any of these Protestant religions, to say
Yeah.
there's no judgment. But there isn't, because there's no bad or good on the other side.
Yeah.
The judgment is here on earth. And the worst part about it, Pam, is we judge ourselves,
Mm-hmm.
constantly judging ourselves.
Worse
And
than anybody else, probably.
we got to get out of that in order
Yeah.
to love ourselves. And we judge others, and
Hmm.
that is a lot of hypocrisy that is going on right now,
Yeah.
especially within churches right now. Religious organizations is the
Hmm.
amount of hypocrisy that's out there. So I hope that answered your questions.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So you were talking a bit about the brain and giving us a little bit of education on that. So you are also a neuro emotional technician. So can you talk a little bit about what that looks like for the client and what that is that you're doing with that?
Sure. Neuro Emotional Technique, NET, is
Technique. Okay.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
mind-body stress relief technique. It's similar, if you've heard of the emotional code or the body code, similar to that, where you're using the concepts of kinesiology, which is muscle testing.
Yeah.
You're using acupuncture, actually pressure points that you wind up holding, and you use psychology, and it blends it together.
Oh, I love
And
that.
it's a non-invasive technique to help you deal with stressors that are unresolved, and we all have them. Okay, there's nobody on this planet that does not have any unresolved emotional stressors, and stress affects everyone's life.
Yeah.
Okay, there's good stress and there's not so good stress, and most
Right.
of us are caught up in that not so good stress.
Right.
So when you have strong feelings like grief, betrayal, um, anger,
Hmm.
all of these things, and you don't allow them to move through your body, and you don't express them, okay, they stay in your body until at a point in time
Yeah.
where you decide to deal with it. Or if you don't, then it starts showing up as real physical illnesses that the doctors can't find uh,
Right.
any diagnosis for.
Like you
And
were talking about, the body keeps the score, same kind of
right.
thing. Yeah.
And when we feel, we heal. But we are
Hmm.
a very emotionally illiterate society. Let me just tell you,
Very true.
we
Yes.
grew up with these four emotions: bad, sad, mad, and glad. And the truth is, there's this buffet of
Uh,
emotions. But
yeah.
most of us were taught, uh, you don't hurt your mother, don't you get angry at your parents. We were really taught not to feel,
Yeah.
and we weren't allowed to express that. And one of the identities I talk about a lot in my book is being a people pleaser. Okay, there's
Yeah.
lots of identities that we attach to, and we actually have to start putting these identities to death as well, because they wind up sabotaging you from being the person that you were born to be. And
Mm,
people pleasing is a great example. You get through your childhood by pleasing your parents and all these other things, but there comes a point where it turns on you, and
yeah.
it actually is sabotaging you. And you will never win when you're trying to please everyone. It's a no-win situation. At the
Yeah.
end of the day, you feel like a roach that got stomped on. Okay. You got nothing from it. And you have gone above and beyond the call of duty to try to get somebody to
Yeah.
be with what you said or you didn't say. And what you're doing is you're pretzeling yourself, you're contorting
Yeah.
yourself into something that they want to you to be and to hear,
Hmm.
and you lose your own voice. You lose your
Yeah.
own identity by being a people pleaser because you never state your truth because you're in fear of the conflict or the blowback that may happen to you. So
Absolutely. Yeah.
NET, we deal with the perceived threat. It's not necessarily real. It is the emotional reality that's going on. And that's different for every single person. That's how you can
Yeah.
have all your siblings at the same Christmas event, and then you get together a year later and you all have different pieces that you remembered, and you go, well, that,
Right.
that didn't happen that way. It happened this way because we
Right.
all are filtering it based on our emotional maturity and what we identify as triggers.
Yeah.
So it's really important. And that's what I love about NET. It goes to the root of the problem. And by muscle testing, your body is able to tell us whether we're going in the right direction or the not right direction. Okay. So and the Chinese figured this out like 5,000 years ago.
Right. They're way
Every,
ahead of us in all of that.
every organ has an emotion attached to it, like liver has anger attached to it. Okay.
Mm.
So what you do is you basically map the person's body with a statement, or you can go in on like a picture or music. I mean, there's unlimited number of things that you can actually go in on with the patient to test whether they're having a reaction to that or not, or
Yeah.
whether it's triggering them or not. And their brain is actually being lit up in the hippocampus where the memories are stored. And that's what you need to calm down because
Mm.
when you get stressed or triggered present day, you're recreating a set of circumstances and emotions that are familiar with you from the past that you did not ever deal with. Okay. And
Yeah.
so similar present day, and you have to go back in time to where this first started. And
Mm.
I love it because you do something called indexing for time, where you take the
Yeah.
patient back to conception to 10, 10 to 20, and their body will actually go weak when you get to the age where this first started for them. And
So amazing.
it
Yeah.
is amazing, and there's usually two ages that are really that come through on almost everybody, and that's age 6,
Mm.
where you are supposed to learn to individuate at 6,
Mm.
okay? And if you never learn to individuate and you always are doing what mommy and daddy is telling you and you never develop your own sense of self,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, you're going to have a lot of issues that are going to come up
Sure.
in your life emotionally that you are going to suppress. The other age is 16, when you think you know who
Mm.
you are and the circumstances in your life tell you differently. Okay.
Right.
So those are important ages to have to go back to and see where you were emotionally.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I had been disconnected from my head and my body up until I started this transformational journey from my NET, from my NE, my near death experience.
Right. NDE. Yeah.
And that led me to this journey I'm on now, which is a spiritual transformative experience, an STE. So in my book, I talk a lot about trauma.
Yeah.
I talk a lot about repressed energy. I talk about NET and other modalities.
Yeah.
NET was a game changer in my life when I got introduced to it, so much so that I changed my whole way of practice. Instead of just
Mm.
putting people on diets and saying, hey, here's the diabetic diet that, whatever it was,
Yeah.
weight loss diet, I looked at it from what was causing you to overeat or
Yeah.
to get that pint of Ben and Jerry's out when you know that it's not good for you to eat the whole pipe, but you
Yeah.
got it figured and you want to self-soothe and you just want to zone out at that particular moment and not think about it. And so you eat the whole pint or you eat the whole pizza. And
Yeah.
and it
And that's
really
just the symptom of what's really going on. Yeah.
right. And then the whole shame bit gets in.
Right. Oh gosh.
And I was a compulsive overeater, so I understand what that feels like, of the shame and the guilt. And deep down, the root was self-hatred.
Mm.
I was so angry and hated myself because my parents blamed me for
Mm.
in the car with the drunk driver, and I was
Yeah.
only 19 and I had no other way to get back to the academy, but still they blamed me. And so
Yeah.
that piece of it hurt worse than all the physical injuries.
Sure.
And so, I think we are all on a healing journey. I want
Yeah.
everybody to know that we all are. And
Yes.
everybody's path is a little bit different, but the path is always about self-love. And
Hmm.
once you can get to love of yourself, then you can expand your heart and your light and give that to others. But you have to do good self-care. And
Yeah.
that's important, to take the time out of your life to focus on you and what you need to heal. And I will tell you, there's four quadrants in our health and in wellness. And
Mm-hmm.
there's a proverb from India that states that everyone is a house with four rooms, and that's
Mm-hmm.
mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual. But unless we go into every room every day, we are not a complete person. And
Ah,
my journey, Pam, is I started out in the physical domain of wellness, helping people with
yeah.
nutrition, physical activity, sleep, those kind of physical things. Then I went into the mental, the stress.
Yeah.
Okay. And then I've gone into the emotional, which is NET, and
Yeah.
to help myself as well as others to
Mm-hmm.
unblock and get to these root belief systems that are
Yeah.
sabotaging you. And now the last quadrant is the spiritual. And that is the one the wellness industry has, in my opinion, failed to address for a lot of different reasons. But
Yeah.
spirituality and your connection to your purpose in life, the greater being, love,
Mm-hmm.
all of this stuff is so, so important in your healing. And that is what I really realized at the end of the day is the most
Mm-hmm.
important thing. Yes, you have to still watch what you're eating, and a balance of,
Sure.
you have to deal with your emotions, you have to deal with stress, but it's so important to put all of that under the umbrella of your spiritual well-being,
Yeah.
because we are spiritual beings in a human body, and we're
Yeah.
only on the earth for a limited time frame. And I really want people to start being mindful and present, that they may never see the person they're interacting with or talking on the phone with ever again. And when
Yeah.
you're mindful of that, you're going to have a kinder conversation. It's going to be framed around love. And yes, you still have to put up barriers with toxic people, but when
Mm-hmm.
you're interacting, like if I never see you again, how do I want to leave this conversation with
Right.
the soul that you are interacting with today? Because I didn't think I would ever die at age 19.
Right.
And, we always think we're going to wake up tomorrow. We don't prepare for death. We're a nation that is in death denial.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Really do have a problem addressing this, talking about it, preparing
Mm-hmm.
for it. But you get to prepare for your spiritual passing. I mean, your
Yeah.
physical passing, and knowing that your soul lives on, and then you can communicate. There's after death communication that is becoming more and more prevalent now.
Yeah.
You can communicate with your loved ones. They're just in a different phase. When I left my
Yeah.
body, I did leave this physical vessel. It was in a ditch. It was
Yeah.
pronounced dead. I was in a soul form, more like I tell people, it's like Casper the Friendly Ghost with trans.
Yeah.
And I was getting messages on the other side. It wasn't through English, it's telepathy and vibration. So
Mm-hmm.
we're actually in a different form, but we're still
Yeah.
there from a energetic consciousness, vibrational, spiritual
Yeah.
perspective.
Yeah, yeah, so amazing. So amazing. So there's so much that you offer, so many services and so much that you offer clients and people in the holistic healing realm. So how do you decide if somebody comes to you, if you have somebody that reaches out to you, they have issues going on in their life, it could be any number of things. How do you decide, or do you decide, or does the client decide what kind of modality or what you're going to actually work on? Or is it just kind of like all together and, doing a lot of things, with them or for them or teaching them? Or do you try to pinpoint some modality or some method that's going to work best for that client?
Well, I think that's the good thing about practitioners that have been around a while. Our toolbox, most of us, is continuing
Right.
to expand as we
Right.
expand. So my practice now, it keeps evolving, as
Yeah.
does most others. But when you're just seeing someone for a few sessions, I try to go to use the NET
Mm-hmm.
technique modality to truly go to the root cause and the root belief system that is really got you stuck, or that's
Mm-hmm.
really keeping you from it's negatively impacting your life.
Mm-hmm.
So, a lot of times that gets at what is your relationship with God, because that's
Hmm.
also going to frame your relationship with death, depending on
Mm.
what you see or believe as God. And I
Yeah.
can tell you, if you still believe in God as a duality, that it is judgmental and
Mm.
critical, and the wrath of God is going to come on you if you don't follow these rules.
Right.
Or the other side was God is loving and protecting and all of this, and it's really important that you really understand and you get to a point where you're not fearing this concept of God, yet you're actually in a relationship, a vibration, a love energy, realizing that God is love. We are
Yeah.
love. That is ultimately what this is all about. And to have to slough off all these beliefs that contradict this, that you have believed your whole life, is not an easy
Hmm.
process. So it usually gets down to that issue, or there's some kind of trauma that's still been buried and it's still affecting the person.
Yeah.
And just had a client recently, and she knew she'd been sexually abused at 16. She's now
Hmm.
in her 40s, never have done anything about it in terms of
Oh my
therapy.
goodness. Yeah.
And, she was just working with a current issue that
Yeah.
was about trying to stay organized and to be prosperous and successful. And she
She did
couldn't,
not connect those, did she? Of
no,
course
no,
not. Right.
and
Oh
she's
my
a
goodness.
practitioner, so you think, okay, but we as practitioners need help too. And so
Hmm.
that's the other thing. It's important for us to be reaching out and continuing to work and heal ourselves as well. And the healing journey does go on. It's not a finite point where it's like, okay,
Right.
I got it all. Any practitioner that says, I have all the answers for you, that's a red flag.
Yeah. Run.
So that's how I kind of start out is and I don't do nutrition planning anymore. I've gotten away.
Okay.
That's old model and old. I mean, it's
Okay.
important to have the knowledge, but to me, if you have the knowledge and then you get triggered and your amygdala, that unconsciousness is taking over and running the show, then we got to deal with that, because
Yeah.
otherwise you're going to be eating all your comfort foods, and it's not going to help to just know something. You got to
Right.
understand why you're doing what you're doing. And that's at an
Absolutely.
unconscious level. So you got to get into that part of your brain to figure
Yeah.
that. So I just work part-time now and
Okay.
still out promoting my book and the message.
Nice.
But I want people to know, if they want an NET practitioner, they can go on netmindbody.com and you
Hmm.
can find a practitioner in your area.
Oh, nice.
There's a great documentary on YouTube called Stressed that totally details what NET is. It's a
Oh,
little bit
nice.
scientific level, but it's important that people understand this is a technique that has validation from the
Hmm.
science arena. There are studies out there, controlled studies, looking at going and having NET done around a cancer diagnosis,
Oh,
because we know
wow.
people get stressed when they receive a cancer diagnosis.
Sure.
So, and then how that part of the brain is able to just, it neutralizes it, so that when you
Yeah.
think about the cancer diagnosis again, there's no charge to it. Okay.
Yeah.
And it doesn't come back. That's the good thing. It does
Nice.
not come back. So that's the modality that I'm working with the most now, because
Yeah.
people are showing up for me ready to look at the root issues of things.
Yeah.
And you've got to be ready for that.
Yeah.
And I want people to know you can't do this for someone else. You have to
Yeah.
do this for yourself.
Right.
And I also want people to understand there is help available.
Yeah.
Okay. There's hope for whatever you're going through, where you may seem like there's just nothing that's going to help you. You've given up on God, you've given up on just Western medicine or whatever.
Yeah.
So there is a reason why you're going through what you're going through.
Yeah.
And please just reach out and get some help. And
Absolutely.
trust the process is showing up to really help free you from something
Yeah.
that is causing you to be in a dark night of the soul.
Yeah. I hear so often people say, I tried this or I tried that, it didn't work or that didn't work and one of the things you mentioned in your book too is you talk about different things, all different kinds of therapy, from something like EMDR all the way to shamanism, and to find what's right for you. And it might be a process, and it's a trial and error, and you have to also give it time. And just because something worked for your sister, your mother, your neighbor, your friend, doesn't mean it's going to be the right one, the right thing for you. And you might also need a combination of different therapies and modalities to help you through whatever you're going through, because each person is an individual. Our experiences are different from everybody else's, and who knows what stuck in there deeply, and who knows what we didn't really, it didn't take root sometimes, which in other people something might have. So, yeah, so there's just don't give up hope, and people, there's so much out there that people can try and work with, and different practitioners and different modalities. So I love that message. It's so true.
Yeah.
So, where can people reach you? I mean, we did mention the website, and we're going to definitely put that in the description below. But is there anywhere else that you would like people to reach out to you at, or the best
You can go
place,
on
or
my website, which is
yeah?
NicoleKerr.com, the contact page there, and you can find me on Facebook and Instagram, and LinkedIn, in terms of
Okay.
social media.
Yeah.
And then my book is on Amazon. Both the books are on Amazon. I
Yay.
also voiced it. I'm the narrator for the Audible version
Yeah.
of Deathless. And I really hope that it is effective in helping people that are fearing death, because that was my main message, is to help people not to be afraid of death, because
Yeah.
it's happened to us all. And if you're
Right.
fearing it, you're going to be resistant. And I just want everyone to know that your soul lives on and your pets are on the other side. Okay.
Yes. Yes.
Worry about that. Your furry friends, your
I
feathered,
totally believe
all of
that.
them. All of those
Absolutely.
little souls are over there as well. So don't let anybody tell you different.
Yes, yes. I love that so much, and absolutely, definitely read her book. I'm a little more than halfway through it. I'm loving it. It's so much more than what you expect. So, and if you're not somebody that reads, like she said, it's on Audible. So, listen to it there. I mean, that's actually what I was doing. I'm not reading it. I'm listening to it, and it's on Audible, and you can hear her lovely voice reading it to you. It just makes it that much more. You can connect with it that much more, I think, sometimes.
And for those of you who do get the Audible, there are the pictures in the book of the crash and just my journey. I put a lot of pictures in there, and they're all on my website. If you
Oh,
go on
great.
You Are Deathless book images, you can see every photo as it is, in the book, in the order of the book. So that'll
Yeah.
give you an idea of, I think, like when you saw that picture of the crash,
Yeah.
picture's worth 1,000 words.
Oh, yeah.
And I certainly didn't will myself back from that. Okay. I was happy on the other side. I did not want to come back here and have a
That's what
life.
we hear a lot in those near-death experiences. If you're somebody that listens to a lot of those stories, you hear that a lot. They didn't really want to come back. It was so nice over there.
But we have a mission, we all
Yeah.
do. And the most important one is to learn to get back to that state of knowing that your soul is perfect. There's nothing
Yeah.
wrong with you. Okay. You've just been told by so many people,
Yeah.
unfortunately, all have. We've been brainwashed with that message that you're not somehow worthy or lovable or
Yeah.
that. And that's just such a lie.
Right. Right. So I think that's a good note to end on. Thank you so much. I just am just so I can't express my gratitude enough. This has been amazing, and I've loved having you on. And I know that the listeners and the viewers have learned something, and at least, have opened their mind a little bit, hopefully. And everybody will go out and buy your book. So, and
Thank
visit
you
your
so
website
much.
and all of that. So thank you.
Blessings.
Blessings to you as well. Thank you.